Hello. Welcome to episode 131, of live drawing. We're back on Undersea Hero. We had to do a slight detour on that cover. That we did. Let me grab it. It's over on the scanner. I'll be right back. Just 2 shakes. Actually, I think I put it in the drawer, which if that's the case, it may not be accessible. Well, sorry, I didn't pull it out, so we won't get to look at that tonight, but we will get to, get to work. Yeah, I don't think I can get to it. This is right here. No, sorry. So tonight we're working on page 48. We've only got 10 pages to go on Undersea Hero for the line art. Then it'll be working on the coloring and lettering, which I believe I can live stream as well. So if people are interested in seeing how I color and stuff, we can do that. So the light is a little much, isn't it? Is that better? Or is that worse? Face it that way. There we go. I think that's better. On this page, we have Undersea Hero facing off the Spongeman, getting overwhelmed, and what we have here is Lord Crackus, who has just come back from the Undersea Casino. It's like, hey, what's shaking? And Undersea Hero asks him for help, and Crackus says, I don't help humans. And Undersea Hero asks him, what about friends? And then he thinks about it for a second, and then he helps him. So again, like another full scene, all within 4 panels. We have our close-up character moment, looking not directly at the viewer, but just off to our left shoulder as we're the reader. And yeah, let's get to work. We got a lot of figures to draw, so melees are tough. They're okay as far as like the number of figures, but like it's a lot of labor and a lot of interlocking geometry. So let's get to work. We got Undersea Hero kind of looking up and over, so we have to create that boot shape. And it's another panel with like a whole bunch of small figures on it, You think about it, and some artists made their whole careers doing that. Don't know about anybody else, but today was a long day for me. Got Michael with his fantastic entrance. Good afternoon, Michael. Hello, everyone. Hope everyone is well. If not, may things get better for you. That's the best way to start off a show. Much better than my welcome to the episode. How you doing, Michael? You working on some artwork tonight with us? I'm sure you are. I looked at my Gmail, Mike. I did not see that email you sent me. I still have to forward that other one that I got from the other artist over to Allison. I forgot to do that. Sometimes when I get off this stream, I'm so tired that I just basically just walk over and fall asleep on the couch. I did finish Allison's cover. She's all set. It's buried in a drawer right now. Unfortunately, I put it in there to keep it safe, and of course, it's so safe I can't get to it right now. I don't know why the light looks too strong on the camera. Try that. Is that any better? Move it over a little bit so you're not looking at the side there. Oh, you got a page done last night? Excellent. We're going to try to at least get this really difficult panel. I forgot this was the panel that I left off at on the page. Just because we've got like 8 or 9 figures we've got to draw on. They do all sorts of construction lines. I don't know. Some people can just wing it and just put like a chunk here and a chunk there, and their figures look good. I just can't do it. I have to build each one out of little squares and stuff. The tubes and cubes method, as I have expressed in the past, is what I call it. At some point, I'll do a video that just explains that, but one thing I have just gotten to really enjoy more and more is just drawing hands. Like when I was a young artist, hands and feet and were among the most difficult things to learn how to draw. But now that I'm not saying I have it down pat, but I'm just saying like I've reached a point where I'm focused more on the expressiveness of the hands rather than just the let's see, from that angle the camera causes a big shadow. Maybe if I point it this way. We could try without the overhead light. We could try that. That's probably better. It doesn't have the shadow, right? But as I was saying with hands, I'm thinking mostly about the expressiveness of the hands. Not necessarily just trying to make it look like a hand. Like this finger, I don't want bent. It's too. We want this finger almost reaching. On its own, like a hand is reaching, but then the way the fingers actually like work is like another way to show the expressiveness. People think a lot about like Steve Ditko hands. They'll talk about the way he drew, Spider-Man's hands. They're just so important to the storytelling because it's part of the expressiveness. Hey, Marthos, how you doing? Thanks for coming in and hanging out. Yeah, I'm tired today. It was a long day, but I'm happy to be here with people. Happy to be working on this page. Happy to only have 10 pages of drawing left for this book. it's been a monumental undertaking. It's not done yet because we got to do coloring and lettering, but and I think I am going to be able to live stream that. I think on my software here I can share a screen, so maybe we'll do that after we're done drawing, because I don't want to lose any time. And Wednesday nights are usually nights where I get important work done on the book, so I can show my lettering process, which people have been asking about. I'm sorry it's not going well, but as Michael likes to say at the beginning, I hope everyone is well, but if not, may things get better for you. Well, I'm glad you're here. I'm sorry things are not going well. I wonder what you guys have been reading lately, if you've been reading any good comics. I've actually been reading mostly really old stuff lately. There's a couple of websites on the internet that post public domain comic books. And I've been really enjoying those because you get to see the early art of creators like Will Eisner and Joe Kubert and Jack Kirby and Joe Simon and all these people that were like foundational creators of American comics at their burgeoning, beginning of their journey. It's fun to see how their art evolved over the years and how much they got better and things they learned and things they were fascinated with. So. Martha says they just watched a guy pull up a Google Earth image, prop a couple of 3D computer model people in front of it, and go straight to ink. Yeah, some people work that way. There's a lot of people that trace 3D models, and to a certain degree, that's starting to become the norm, even if editors don't know that. Because sometimes they just don't care how the sausage gets made, and it doesn't matter as long as they get the result that they want and that they own it. I don't like working that way. I don't know. I've spent so long trying to learn how to draw traditionally and with constructive, classical drawing that I just, while I know that there might be some shortcuts I would get through, if I did, it just doesn't do it. Oh, me too. Those public domain comics are so fun. I just read one where a mob boss's underling, who couldn't become the mob boss above ground, became just by default the underworld. Literally, there's a hollow earth and there's green people that live there, and they just made him their leader because he's a mobster from above them. I was looking at I don't know if you ever saw these. They weren't very popular, but I really love them. Eric Larson did 3 issues of the Next Issue Project, is what he called it. You can see right there. I took this and actually had Eric sign it in New York for me. And he did public domain comics with his pals. And, there's an Eric story. Bill Sienkiewicz does a story. Tom Yeats. Mike Allred, Andy Kuhn. Tom Scholey. Jim Rugg. Fred Hembeck. Yeah, Ashley Wood. And these were just really fun comics. And I love seeing those early days. I don't know. And they're flawed. There's some horrible cultural stuff in there, but I don't know, the beginnings of the art form, you saw a lot of young people learning their craft and really going for it. This is a tough pose, this one right here, because he's leaning diagonally and he's got all his weight on his counter hand, so his elbow's coming up like this, and then he's got his arm on his back. So this one's going to be a challenge. And there's foreshortening involved, so it's like, it's a doozy. And then you have the weight on the hand and the way the fingers have to look. I think one of the biggest flaws of my art right now is when I try to clean it up too much and try to make it too smooth. I wish I had the confidence to really just push that out of my mind. And just be okay with doing grittier stuff. When I finish Undersea Hero, there's a lot of experiments I have on my back burner. I found last episode I wasn't reading the questions enough, so like I was answering questions and people couldn't see who I was answering the questions, so that's why I put the chat up. I had somebody ask if I would do that again because it helped them follow along better. So I was, you know. You're trying to go, Martha says they're trying to go straight to color or straight to ink digitally. Yeah, I mean, straight to color is interesting because you can block out the silhouettes. I know a couple of artists that work that way. They do like a big block, more like a painting technique, where you'll block out the main images and build layers off of that. You know, it's definitely an academic way of doing it. I just want to do the best comics, and I'm no longer as worried about the production line aspect of it, because comics are going to change dramatically, I think, over the next 10 years. The way they are distributed, obviously, because of everything going on with Diamond, the way that they are marketed, I think the whole thing is just going to be doing another seismic shift. And I just want to make the comics I'm going to be proud of. I think every commercial artist has one of those, or a series of them. I know I have more than one. Stories where you had to work on stuff for the paycheck, or you had to do stuff that, editorial told you to do something you didn't agree with, or, there were compromises made outside the artistic scope for speed or a perceived marketability or something. And I'm hoping that by just doing the best ones I can, that in and of itself will have enough artistic value for people to want to check this stuff out. So, in a way, Undersea Hero will have a quality to it of my prior work that maybe future work will or won't have. I don't know yet. Martha says, I'll send you one of my crash and burns. It took 30 minutes, but I learned from it. The anatomy was off because of zooming on my phone screen. Got the wrists at the wrong angle. Is it just a single piece? Because I saw the stuff that you sent. I liked the hand lettering. I enjoyed that quite a bit. I don't know. I feel like all the regulars here. If we could get our, we talked about doing an inking exercise, but I feel like there's so many comic makers here. Like why don't we do like a little anthology together? I don't know. In the post Undersea Hero world, I would love to do that with everybody that pops in regularly. I mean, we could do public domain superheroes. I did a book called Dime Box Comics. I posted it on the Fat Cat website, and that was just me and my friends at the comic store. We all did like 8 pages. It would be fun. I'll make a post about it at some point, and we'll see if people are interested. Martha says they have a idea for an anthology. What would you like to do on your anthology? You don't have to tell us. It's a top secret money making plan. We don't want to compromise the. Yeah, I'll just when we do I'll pose it. I'll keep bringing it up every now and again on some future streams, and if people are interested, we would just have some fun. See if we could get Allison. See if we could get our buddy Doug, who pops in from time to time to do even just a little pinup. I know he's busy working on a new book too. So we had talked about doing like a baseball comic at one point, but just never materialized. I do have a new idea for a baseball story. Martha says they made a OC called Mando Komodo, detective with Jason Dube. Right on. So I mean, it says detective. So is it like a mystery story, like a detective mystery story? I want to put some more reach on this pose. These guys are just kind of like ganging up on him. This guy right here, I need more. Oh, you're doing a jam comic, right on. Yeah, we did a jam strip. We did a gumshoe strip that was kind of fun. It was a jam like strip style at my old comic store. Still have it somewhere. Yeah. Yeah, we treated it like a jam, like more like jazz. The next person picks up the thread and adds to it. Yeah, we had the one thing we found is we did have to create just some really simple ground rules. Like you couldn't just kill off the main character. But other than that, like that was it was really I think that was the only rule we had. Like we had to keep the main character alive, unless the only way in which we could kill him was if the whole group voted that that was the end of their story. Yeah, the old DC challenges. Yeah. They did the Commandy challenge. Did you ever read that one? That one was interesting. And they got tons of A-list artists on it. There was a Steve Root issue that was just absolutely beautiful. I think Kevin Eastman drew an issue even, which must have been a blast for him because I know he's just a huge Kirby fan. It's interesting that over the last few years he has parlayed his turtle stuff into doing like even just variants on X-Men and Batman and all these other books where like he's been around a long time. A person over on Twitch says killed the character. Mwahaha. Oh, we were telling a serialized story in that instance. So, in other cases it might be better storytelling for them to not make it past a certain point. He's a Humphrey Bogart type, but I see it as set in the 80s or 90s. Would you see it set in like a realistic version of the 80s or 90s, or like the heavily stylized, almost like a genre era of those years? I see that being. I did like an 80s core uh, horror action comic called Iron Face that was set in like a faux 80s, and that was a lot of fun because I got to use a lot of like film influence and musical influence, just cultural illustration like Erte style influence. It was cool. We made him a wife called Midoriko. Cool. It's always fun, working out as the story dictates, the supporting cast of characters. Right now, I'm really just chunking out the shapes. Calling an audible on the layout a little bit. We need another foreground character. This layout was definitely done when I was running out of gas. Foreground, midground, background. I always have to think about those three stages of the scene. There's a pinup that I have in my bag that I started before work one day, and it is a public domain character that I hope to have time to finish, at some point soon. Fun and stupid. Those are the kind of comics that I think the world needs more of. If it's fun and stupid, I could see it on a shelf next to Undersea Hero in a store. We got to have some full figures so we get our full range of our full scope here. And that's why you see, like, on this part of the layout here, there's a couple of full figures. There's one right here. And then we get to see actually the top portion of one there. Oh, I snuck one in back here. Oh, I moved it. You can see this little mark right here. I moved him over there so that there's more room for Krakus. It's going to be, basically the same size here. Sure, I'll post it. I'll make sure it gets posted on the YouTube community part of my channel. If you subscribe to it, it'll show up there. If you're not on Facebook or Instagram, which is where I probably post it, or my website, all of those things are viable. His hand here. This is one where it's interesting because he's reaching for him, but there's like a coiled element to it. And I want to turn his wrist a little bit so that his thumb is up front there. Oh, and I've had people ask about that before too. Like any of those anthology pieces we put together, everybody retains all their rights, etc., etc. And I don't even sell stuff really like that anymore. I just post it online. Let's see if I can get my pal Joe St. Pierre to help out. He likes public domain characters too. He actually has a couple stories he wanted to do, but he's just busy with other stuff. Let me try to figure out this. Yeah, it's going to be like this. There we go. I had it pointing the wrong way. His wrist was turned the wrong way. So. I think I added a face here. Yeah. Again, just like trying to add layers, foreground, midground, background, always trying to add depth to things. Because when I roughed this out, it was really just getting the storytelling beats. And I regularly will add stuff as I go along. Not sure how late we'll go today, but we'll go as long as I can muster. I picked up a book years ago. It was, I don't even know who the publisher is on this. Look at the Indicia. That's Fantagraphics. Okay. Yeah, Fantagraphics put this out, and it's the Superman, the first wave of comic book heroes. And it has all kinds of stuff like the Silver Streak, the Comet, Stardust, the Blue Bolt, Phantoma, Skymaster. Really good Basil Wolverton early stuff. What was his name? Something Hawk. Space Hawk, yeah. Really just incredible early stuff from him. Like you see the way he was already doing his textures and stuff. Enemy of Crime, Superhuman. But yeah, this was a buy years ago. And it was totally worth every penny. I revisit it regularly. Lou Fine's in there. So many really good artists. Bill Everett, the creator of Submariner. I know I tend to talk comic heavy, but I did see. Hey Caleb, how you doing? Working on Undersea Hero. We made it to our last 10 pages or so of Undersea Hero line art. You know, we'll got to do the coloring and things, but it'll be a big achievement. I've been working real hard on this for a year now. And how are you doing? What's new with you? It's an interesting feeling. You know, I've been working on it so long and through so many holidays and birthdays and stuff that like I'm trying not to get too far ahead of myself, but I am looking forward to it being at least to the next step. Working a lot, yeah. Can I ask what you do? I don't know. I like finding out what everybody does. One guy on here was like an electrical engineer. Got some tech people that pop in. Our friend Brian, he has like his own model train business. Like, you don't have to tell me. I'm just curious. Oh, Kroger, nice. My parents shop at a Kroger. They live out in the Midwest, so I thought they had good baked stuff there. I am a sucker for cookies. I gotta completely come clean. That's like I can usually turn down like most sugary desserts, but like good chocolate chip cookie, I'm powerless to say no to. One of my first art teachers actually was started off he was at the deli counter at the A&P, which was a chain of New England grocery stores. He worked there 30 some odd years, and Yeah, when he retired, he just went into full art mode full time, and he was like a well-known, regarded artist. It's like, uh, yeah, his name was Marshall Dubach. He was a painter on Nantucket. Um, and my parents, when I was a kid, sent me to a studio a handful of times to get some like crash course watercolor technique advice. See, that's just proper management, as I would see it. If I had to manage the bakery area of a fine grocery store, I would quality control. Yes, yes. You're just doing your job, just keeping people safe. I haven't been to one in a while. Do they do the cronuts there, the croissant donuts? One of the grocery store chains out there, the in the Midwest, out where my folks are, does the cronuts, the croissant donuts, and they are fantastic. John says, I like, thank you. Yeah, we've got a big melee battle, which always takes a long time. I have no idea how George Perez had time to sleep, let alone draw all the tiny figures that he would do. So many mid shots. Back a little bit. He's got his giant novelty gold necklace from the casino on. I can't tell you how stupid it is that I spent too much time figuring out how a cephalopod would wear a necklace. I have sketches of like varying placements, like where it would go, and eventually I just put it around him, even though it kind of looks like a collar. I just put it around like where I thought the neck ish would be. We've got there's a balloon here. There's a balloon here. And then there's a balloon here. So we leave ourselves some space there. But we've got this filled in, and let's take our second pencil here, which I use. This is just HB lead. I don't use anything super fancy. I use a brand called Uni, which I get through a website called jetpens.com. They don't pay me to say anything, so it's not like I'm getting, sponsorship money. They just have really great stuff. And a lot of my fellow comic book artists shop there too. So one thing I've had to draw lately. Oh, they don't have the cronuts. Okay. I'll have to ask them. I know we all came here to listen to me lament about different baked goods of my wife makes fun of me because I'll talk about food that way, like a sandwich I had in 1987 that had just the right amount of mustard on it, stuff like that. This really great muffin I had this one time at this random place we stopped at. Some people think about how to save the world. I will think about delicious food I eat at some point. All right. I'm going to slide this under here so that it doesn't get in my way. I think we have to change which Krakus arm is being held up to one of the side arms, because I don't want to create a tangent with his with Undersea Hero's hand up. Got a number of folks in tonight. Thanks everybody for coming in for this episode of Live Drawing. I actually just thought of an interesting story about. I was thinking of a way in a visual story of explaining the way in which like superheroic narratives are visual metaphors for even everyday things. Um, it was one of the creative thoughts I had just before I popped on here. Because I wonder when people read stuff, what they see. I just turned in a couple of cover sketches for a friend of mine who I love. I was thinking about this too. I love drawing for him because I know that he like fully believes in me and wants to make something really good. So a bakery in Columbus, yeah, I'm down. I will. I will. I'm writing that thing down. My parents go there. They like a bakery called the Chatelaine. I'm writing down. Hold on. There's RESCHS. Um, John Horschler. I found your channel. I've been watching Inkology and bought some stuff to put in my arsenal. The from Jet Pens, yeah, they put some. They make great stuff. I sold some of the originals through the Kickstarter, and when we fulfill those orders, I never sell my pages, and this is like the first time I've ever really offered that stuff, and they went like immediately. The ones that I did offer, so if there are pages left that I think are worth selling, then sure, yeah, I'll put some. But I will say that there's a fair number that have been spoken for even before I drew them, which was a weird feeling. And I'll be honest, it added a stress to it because I redrew some pages because um, I redrew some pages just because I didn't think that they were good enough for people's collections as pages. So I would like make alterations to them and try to make them. I think about what they'll look like in a frame when someone gets them, and I just don't want people to be disappointed by them. So I spent a lot of time, trying to make the pages themselves not only functional for the book and standalone as narrative portions for the story, but also as individual pieces. So like I spent a lot of time just thinking about that and trying to do the best work I could, but also like just thinking about what their lives will be after I let go of them. I know it's overthinking, and that's what I do. So here we are. Should I lay down on a couch and just keep going? Um, but it's possible. I will definitely. Okay. Well, we're when I visit my folks, we are going to this bakery. Livingston Ave. John asks, "What comic book do you do?" Well, the one I'm working on right now is called Undersea Hero, but I've worked on a lot of comics over the years. I worked for 10 years on a comic book called The Tick. It had it's a New England staple. It's a cult book that has been around since the 80s. They did a few TV shows, video games, and things like that. I worked on some of the Ninja Turtles series for IDW. I worked on some G.I. Joe stuff. I did a variant for a Batman TMNT book. All kinds of stuff. Red Sonja, Conan. I did the comic books for the Boston Red Sox for their mascot Wally. So if you ever went to Fenway Park and got a Wally comic, I drew that. all kinds of stuff. I'm sure I know I'm forgetting things. I'm just trying to think of the ones of properties that people probably heard of. I've done hundreds of books probably that no one's ever heard of, and some will never be reprinted or recollected. So the pages are the baby. Well, yeah, I mean, I explained it also this way, like the those holidays and birthdays and stuff that I'm here working on pages, like it's also my memories of like what was going on, as that was what's going on in my life on those days. Like I can look at a page, like there's the TMNT 51 cover, which was the first appearance of Jenica that I did. That was done on vacation. And that was early in my career, so I couldn't have said no um, to a Ninja Turtles cover. And we were going on vacation, and I had to promise my wife that it would not interrupt the vacation. So what I did was I got up at like 4 a.m. every day and sat in the bathroom with the door closed on the floor, uh, working on the cover until it was done, because I got it assigned on like a Thursday and it was due on a Monday. So that means it had to be approved. I had 1 day to get the layout approved, which means that you send your sketches to IDW and they send it to Nickelodeon, and then they come back to you with their edits. There's one thing about that cover that not very many people know, is that we got sign off by the Providence Bruins to put their logo on Casey Jones's jersey. And one of the only stories I ever wrote and semi-mentioned at a meeting kind of thing, was obviously Casey never made it to the NHL. He lives in New England, and there's only so many minor league hockey teams he could have played for. So I always thought that he could have been like the less scoring touch version of like Cam Neely, big tough guy, And I had a story of like how he got to be who he is, and like he didn't want to necessarily be a goon, but he became a goon in the league, and he saw how useful it was and how it actually helped people, and that paralleled like what he would eventually do as a crime fighter. He'd be a parallel narrative. Oh, thank you. So yeah, on the original, there's actually the P Bruins logo instead of that stupid convention logo on his jersey, and it looks much cooler because it's a real hockey jersey. So yeah, I spent the 4 a.m. times over a vacation weekend sitting on the floor of a bathroom drawing that cover. For the first Ninja Turtles cover, the TMNT Animated Adventures cover, I had to do drawing tests because that was the kids' version and they had a really tight look to it. So I got sent this style guide, and on a 4th of July weekend, at a 4th of July party for my wife's friends, I went upstairs and sat at a desk. Um, and worked on learning the style guide because I had to have a drawing test done by the next day. So, John says, my little brother and I love that show. How many Tick comic books did you do? A lot. 10 years, over 10 years, all the special. They didn't do a monthly book, but they did like regular specials. So, if you say like 4 a year, it's a lot of comics. But they're not all, they would reuse stories. So there's some where they're actually like the Free Comic Book Day would actually have one new story and it would have one of the special stories in it. So they would do a special, pair it with a new story and extra material, and that was the Free Comic Day issue. So Red Sonja, what's a good Red Sonja is a good one to start out reading. Good Red Sonja started out reading. I actually quite liked Amy Chu's and Carlos Gomez. Carlos Gomez draws Fantastic Four for Marvel right now. He did Spider-Man. He's Black Cat and a bunch of other books for Marvel. But he and Amy Chu, I thought, did a really good run. There's a really good set of books. I liked it. So John says, if you enter back to do Tick or Red Sonja, how would you put it back? Like, would like it to be? I don't know what you mean by that question. Like, if I got to work on it now, what would I do? The 90s Tick cartoon is wonderful. And Townsend Coleman, who's the voice actor, is a lovely guy. And he and my mom actually went to the same high school. Small world. Different years, but lived in the same area. And it's funny, for a while, Townsend was the news anchor in northeastern Ohio. And so, like, most of the people who, when I mention his name, that I know back where my folks live, they're like, oh, the news guy. What's he up to these days? What would I do? If you wanted to see what I would do with Red Sonja, I have a character named Helena. It's my fantasy sword and sorcery monster killing lady. She pretty much is how I would do that archetype. And I actually have almost a full story that I haven't released done that's like a standalone. I was thinking about polishing it off and finishing it in time for Free Comic Book Day this year if I get Undersea Hero where it needs to be in time. I've turned down stuff to work on Undersea Hero, and when we're done, I'm gonna let people know, like, my friends are going to be very angry, I think, when they hear some of the jobs that I turned down to just work on my stupid little story here. But I don't know. I felt like I had to, because we were on this journey together. You guys kickstarted this project with me, and we got to commit to it and get it done. Get it done. The Tick, what would Undersea Hero, if you look at Undersea Hero, it's a superhero comedy adventure, and that's the book that I'm working on right here that you see. I wrote one story of the Tick, and it was in the Free Comic Book Day issue that has the rocket cycle on it. You can see what I did in that one. I don't remember what year it was, 2017, 2018, 2017. I don't remember, 2017 or 2018, but it's got my favorite cover on it, the rocket cycle, that I ever did on the book. And that one is I'm trying to do more of my own thing, I guess. If I got to draw, let's say I was drawing, I would prefer, for fantasy stuff, I'd rather do a Savage Sword of Conan story. But if I were to do Red Sonja now, I would probably want to do an adventure where we see Sonja go through kind of like a multi-tiered series of foes, much like a Dante's Inferno kind of thing. And I would probably have like medieval poetry references, because I like poetry. Okay, our light source for this is up and to the left, so it's over here. So I always draw a little X. I'll make it bigger so you guys can see it, and then I draw an arrow because it helps me with my modeling. And lighting's a good way to add more drama. I've been doing some double lighting lately, which people seem to like. I find it unnecessary a lot of the time, but it's again like these things that became the standard in superhero narrative, where like you pretty much frame every object with a rim. And what that means is, as you see right here, I'm leaving just a little bit of white there, and then we leave this open. So like our main light is right here on his chest, and then over here it's a little further away, so it's smaller. And then if our secondary lighting is, say, back here, you put a little bit of a rim on the back end. I don't know. People seem to really, really like it. I think it just adds a little too much to the figure sometimes, but if you look at most of like Jim Lee and Ryan Benjamin, and who I think is such an underrated artist. He's so good. A lot of the Wildstorm guys, they did a lot of double lighting. When you look back at those early comics that we were talking about, those Golden Age books, like from this Fantagraphics books, let me show you the drawing of one of these artists. Like this is early Jack Kirby right here, and you wouldn't even recognize it as Kirby because it's Kirby and Simon. Let me see, where's the flame? Lou Fine was just such a great artist. He's one of my favorite artists, and like there's so little of his work that most people recognize. The flame, here we go. I mean, you look at the way he draws the skull, the character in these hands, the quality of the line. He's drawing monsters there. And then you see like the great figure work, just the way the weight of the character and the way he's throwing and moving. It's so natural. I mean, Lou Fine was such a good artist. And, look at this figure just standing here in this stance. Like there is just such balance. There's a great arc to it where the spine is, And clearly he's influenced by, like the Alex Raymonds of the world. But I don't know, man. I really like Lou Fine's artwork. Hey, Daniel. Thanks for joining us this evening. Glad you could hang out with us tonight. I do. I'm absolutely always just delighted when any of my friends pop in. And I promise when we get another thing we will do post Undersea Hero getting done is we'll do more of those giveaway sketches because I love doing them. I love putting them in the mail. And I don't know. I have so much more fun doing that than doing like commissions. I find commissions very hard. Unless they're for like my buddies or whatever, right? Some people do commissions and they love doing them and they're really, really good at them. I don't know if I was ever any of those. I don't think we're going to finish penciling this panel tonight, but we got all the spacing done and we're filling her in now. And now that we've got our lighting, we've got up over here. One of those mental exercises that I talk about that helps me when I'm putting in my shadows, spotting the shadow areas, is I think about white as a color on the paper. Rather than just thinking about it as the paper I'm marking on, I think about it as like that's part of the picture and it needs to be planned for. Like what we see, how much we see, the line thickness, how the lines move around it. These are all the sorts of things that, again, like I think I've clearly demonstrated I'm an overthinker, but and again, like I said early in the stream, at this point in my career, I actually really like drawing hands. I do. when I was young, it was one of those things that it was hard to get it to look like a hand. Now I'm really working on like the personality, the bend, the torque, how the knuckles move, the way hands tend to move, how the pinky works with the ring finger. If Kirby was alive, would he be happy the way his stuff is going, his artwork? Would he be happy with it? I mean, it depends. Like if he was, still had his hands and young, I'm sure he would. And I'm sure he would adapt to modern technique. Like he used a pencil because he was there when comics started, and that's what you had. And if you look at his work over the years, it's always interesting to see the ones that Jack inked himself at different periods. Because I think that he was a better inker than he got credit for. Now he worked with like Joe Sinnott for years, who was a great inker. He worked with Mike Royer, so many good ones. What's a good warm up before starting? I like to draw either faces or hands and I try to do it in movement. I try to think of a gesture. Like if I'm doing a hand, I'm like, this person is like pushing away or they're pointing at something or whatever. If I'm doing a face, I try to think of like, what's the story behind that face? Like, what are they communicating? Another good one is just perspective drills. Like if you draw your horizon line and then you draw in like your classic, this is the box that you connect everything to that point. And then you can, try to turn that into stuff. Like I know that that's a way, so that you're practicing your perspective. That's another way, My pinky is broken on my left hand. Do you put stuff like that in your artwork? Oh, if it's part of the character, yeah, and that's a great that's a great thing to do. We were talking about this on the last stream. Just the identity of what people do and how people over time, like it's having scars and things like that are great ways to add character bits. Last week I was asking the person who I was drawing that cover for if this character would ever paint their nails, because from the angle I was drawing her, you could see her fingernails. Yeah, anything that makes your character unique is a great way to add dimension to it. One character that I always thought was right for that was Batman. I mean, just being a guy, and I think that Alex Ross captured it beautifully in that painting of him taking his shirt off in the Batcave with all those scars on his back. I think that is just such a wonderful representation of the character, and it just shows how much depth is there, because the bad guys just see the suit. And then in that one character moment, you see like, oh, there's what that suit did to him. Hey, good talking to you, Martha. Thank you very much for hanging out with me tonight, and I hope stuff gets better. So yeah, I will absolutely let you know when the public domain comic idea gets put forth. If that comes together, would love to have you on board. We'll see if we can get everybody. See if Michael will work on it. See if we can get and on the anthology that I did with my buddies at Dimebox one. Some people were just writers. Some people were just colorists or whatever. Like I just want people to have something fun to do. And we'll see if we can get one of my more famous friends to do a cover or something. I don't know if Craig will do it because Craig's he's a busy man. He's got the Herculoids coming out. He's doing the Young Hellboy, and he's got a new Perhaponaut story out. Which, by the way, that's one thing I should grab. I should grab the Perhaponauts Kickstarter and send that out. Thankfully, on this computer, I can go in. Go to Craig. Sorry, this is taking longer than I thought. Oh, there it is. There we go. That's my buddy Craig's Kickstarter. John asked if I do Comic-Cons. I've done many Comic-Cons over the years. Yes, I have done them for a long time. I've kind of taken a step back on them just because I wanted to finish this book. And, when I finish this, I've got one up in New Hampshire that I'm doing in April. And that's currently the only one I have scheduled so far. When I get this book done, I'll go back out and do some more on the road, but this has really been my focus. Done San Diego, New York, Boston, New Jersey, Connecticut, Ohio, Colorado, Baltimore, New Hampshire, Vermont. Tons and tons of shows over the years. New Orleans, I did a show in New Orleans. That was great. So, yeah, lots and lots of conventions over the years. I think that's as far as we're going to get tonight, but you can see a closer look at the detail. It's going to take a little while to draw all those figures, but I'll probably get that panel done tomorrow. And then our last panel is another May Life shot. So this one might, although there's fewer figures in this one. So this one probably get this done tomorrow, get this done on Friday, and then, I think we'll be in good shape. So getting it done over the weekend. Thanks everybody for coming to live drawing. I hope everyone has a good weekend. I hope everybody stays healthy and safe. And I hope, as Michael says, if things are not good, I hope they get better for you. And I hope to see you next week. John said there's one in Akron. So I have not done the Akron show in many years, but a long time ago. So, but good night, everybody. I will catch you later.